Professor Hartman, welcome to Fudan.
Thank you so much. Very nice to be here.
So how was your teaching this morning to the new batch of Fudan IMBAs?
Well, it's always nice to meet the new IMBAs at Fudan, and they seemed like a very enthusiastic and energetic group. They participated very well. I think it's going to be a very good class for you.
Yeah. So since you are teaching the Fudan IMBAs from the very beginning in 1997, so it's almost more than 20 years.
That's
now.
right.
How did you see the difference or the change of the Chinese MBAs?
Very good question. I think the English language skills, number one, have gotten stronger and stronger every year. And I think the degree of participation has gotten also much better. The students seem much more comfortable speaking up and really actively engaging in the class discussions, which I think has been a real positive change over the years.
And probably you see more international students in the nowadays MBA?
Yes, that's true. I think 20 years ago, most of the students in the IMBA program were certainly from China, and there's been I think a nice sort of evolution of more and more international students joining the group, which I think makes it a very rich experience for all of the students in the program.
You've been teaching the managerial communication in MIT Sloan School of Management to the MBAs. So as managerial communication, many young professionals, they think there's no new knowledge in this course. So they do the daily work, like writing emails or proposals or reports or giving business presentations. It's like very normal, their everyday job. So why managerial communication still, it is a very important course to the MBAs?
I think the managerial communication course is very important because part of what we're trying to do is help people to think strategically about communication. And so we want them to really consider what's the purpose of their communication, who is their audience, what do they need to know about the audience, what do they want the audience to know and to do, and then to really think about, particularly today, what's going to be the most effective channel to deliver a message. Because with social media, with communication technology, there are so many new ways of being able to communicate to different audiences. And I think the course is also important because even though a number of people coming into the IMBA program certainly have some communication experience, this course helps them to really develop and polish those skills.
Yeah, to polish their skills. I do agree with this. Yeah. So as the MBA class, what do you teach? Any special teaching method do you use in the MBA class?
So I think we try to use a lot of different teaching methods. We certainly teach some cases because they're very helpful in terms of getting students to think about applying what they have learned to real life situations. And the case method is also a great way of involving a lot of class participation and discussion. But we also, of course, teach presentations and give students an opportunity to practice those skills. We do some things working in teams. So I think we try to cover a wide variety of different teaching styles.
So what skills do employers typically look for when they're hiring MBAs?
So there is a survey that's done every year where people talk to corporate recruiters and corporate executives and ask them what skills are they most interested in finding in MBAs who they're hiring. And there's a long list of skills that are always included. But it's interesting that the top 5 skills that are identified are all relevant to communication. So they typically identify oral communication, the ability to talk and have interpersonal communication with individuals, listening skills, writing skills, presentation skills, and adaptability, your capability of adapting to different situations and different audiences. So it's very clear from a corporate perspective that communication is a skill that is highly valued and that companies are really looking for in terms of MBAs who they're looking to hire.
Yes. So based on the the employer's requirement. Did you get any feedback from the previous MBA alumni regarding the communication skills they learn in the school?
So it's great fun because I think a lot of times when students are taking the communication course, they're not quite clear why they need to take a communication course. But often after they've completed the course, when they're doing an internship, when they're actually out working in full-time positions, we will hear from them, and they are very appreciative of learning how to present well, how to develop a logical argument, how to write concisely and clearly, because that's what they're doing every day in their work. And they also find that if they communicate well and effectively, that gets noticed in companies and organizations. And so those are often the people who are promoted in the companies. So I think that the real value is discovered often after they take the course, and when they're in different companies, different organizations, and realizing that every day one of the most important things they do is communication.
Yeah, so their practicing the MBA class do help them.
Absolutely. I think the practice, again, allows them to develop certain skills and, again, to polish them so that when they do get out into the world, they really know how to communicate well.
Yeah, and they become more professional and more effective in communication.
Indeed. I think it adds to their professionalism, and they learn how to be effective communicators.
Are communication skills important for leaders to be effective?
So I think when we look at effective leaders in all kinds of organizations, that solid communication skills are one of the most critical elements for good and successful leadership. If you look at leaders in corporations, in business organizations, if you look at leaders in government, if you look at leaders in almost any type of area, the ones who are typically most effective and most successful at what they're trying to accomplish are leaders who can communicate effectively with their audience, with their followers, with their employees, with whoever the people are involved where they are leading. And so I would suggest that communication skills are perhaps the most important characteristic that we would look for in good leadership.
So another question, actually this is also very common, is many people think communication skills actually they're natural. So they were born to be a good communicator, and especially those people, their personality is introvert. So they always think, I'm not really good at communication. So my question is communication skills can be learned?
Yes. So I think absolutely communication skills can be learned. It may be that some people are born with certain characteristics that help them to communicate well, but I would suggest that everyone can learn to communicate very effectively. Much of it is planning and preparation, much of it is technique and skill, and a lot of it is practice. And so someone who may say that they're very nervous about standing up in front of an audience to deliver a presentation, they can in fact learn to do that very, very well. Likewise, someone can learn to write in a very professional, clear, concise manner. So yes, communication skills absolutely can be learned. And I'm glad of that, or all of us who teach in communication would be very nervous about what we're going to do.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily someone who is talkative and they're good at communication.
Absolutely. I think your earlier question about someone who might be more introverted, for example, they can certainly become a very effective communicator. And likewise, someone who is very, very extroverted, in fact, we might want to work with them on developing and polishing their skills to be more structured. Indeed. Absolutely.
Is it important for business leaders to understand the cross-cultural communication skills?
So I think today, as we have become a very global world and are going to continue to be a very global world, that it is very important that business leaders have a good understanding and appreciation of different cultural norms and different cultural communication practices. One of the things I think that makes communication very exciting is that we know there are differences in terms of how people in one culture might communicate with another. and likewise how business is done in one culture versus another. And so to be a really effective business leader today, I think absolutely there needs to be an understanding of different cultures, an appreciation of those different cultures, and a recognition that indeed there will be some differences about how we communicate, how we negotiate, how we conduct business in a number of different ways.
And I think the MBA class now, whatever in MIT Sloan or even in Fudan University, it already becomes a cross-culture.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things that makes programs like MIT Sloan, Fudan, and other places very rich is that the student body, and in many cases the faculty as well, are also very, very diverse. And we learn a lot from each other, for one thing, but also in the managerial communication course, in organizational processes, organizational behavior, we often spend some of our course time dealing with specifically topics around cross-cultural communication, because it is such an important topic for conducting business in the world today.